Welcome back to the reviews of the 118th episode. I'm John Costas. Later tonight in primetime, you'll see Robert Redford go for gold in the men's downhill. We'll also check in on the inspiring story of the Jamaican bobsled team. And during our late night coverage, more competition from men's figure skating. But first, this is Movie Night. Hello and welcome to Movie Night, arriving a few days late this week because I was distracted by 18 consecutive hours of Olympic coverage. I'm your host, Jonathan Paula. Tonight, in honor of the 22nd Winter Olympics in Sochi, Russia, we'll take a look at three of the only films that focus on winter sports, beginning with Downhill Racer. Released in November of 1969, this sports drama, based on the novel The Downhill Racers by Oakley Hall, barely broke even with its $1.8 million budget. A young and seemingly ageless Robert Redford stars as a hotshot American who has a talent and ambition for downhill skiing, later getting recruited by coach Gene Hackman to compete for the U.S. delegation in the upcoming Winter Olympics. Although the two Hollywood legends share a number of scenes together, they're never provided an opportunity to really showcase their A-game, and honestly, Hackman seems entirely wasted in the one-note role. When Redford is criticized for clashing with his fellow competitors due to his aggressive ski style, another racer is quick to point out, well, it's not exactly a team sport, is it? The contemporary-sounding music by Kenyon Hopkins drives some tension during several scenes, but drops out to complete silence for most of the skiing portions, allowing only the sound of crunching snow and speeding athletes to populate the soundtrack. Released under the short-lived M rating, which later evolved into today's PG equivalent, this picture's pacing and sensibilities are very much stuck in the 1960s. The 101-minute film is a slow-moving experience with little dialogue to propel the overly simplistic plot. Visually speaking, however, there's some brilliant cinematography at work here, including an inventive first-person POV shot of a downhill run, decades before cheap and versatile cameras like the GoPro would make such imagery almost commonplace. These alpine portions are faithfully recreated and truly exciting to watch unfold, even if Redford's eventual success is all but a predictable conclusion. Select sequences are also edited with a brisk and original style, but these are sadly few and far between.
Beat you to the bottom.
What the hell is that? Hey!
The laid-back approach from director Michael Ritchie allows the viewer to inhabit some of Redford's fears, excitement, and anxiety atop the slopes prior to each run, but generally does a poor job of explaining the stakes. As it doesn't offer any compelling reason to watch, I can't really recommend this picture, but since there's so few Winter Olympic-themed movies, for fans of the sport, this is one of your scant options. Outside of Redford fans or alpine enthusiasts, this is a bland, uninspired, and predictable sports film with little rewatch value. Downhill Racer, aged well, but not interesting. Here's my final score, a 4. While I was never outright bored, I never really cared about anything either. The racing portions were exciting, but overall, this was just a meh. For tonight's poll question, what's your favorite sports film? Leave your response as a comment below. Progressing from games at Grenoble to Calgary, let's now review Cool Runnings. Released by Walt Disney Pictures in October of 1993, this feel-good sports picture earned over 10 times its $15 million budget. Directed by John Turteltaub, the 98-minute picture is an extremely predictable, lighthearted affair that's very loosely based on the true story of Jamaica's improbable bobsledding debut in the 1988 Winter Olympics. The heavily fictionalized version of events follows a group of ambitious track runners, played by Leon, Dougie Doug, Raul D. Lewis, and Malik Yopa, who encourage a washed-out former American bobsledder to coach them in a decidedly non-Caribbean-based sport after they failed to qualify for the Summer Olympics. The four men goof around and are often annoying, and they exhibit little acting talent, but they're likable enough as the ultimate underdogs. The late John Candy is their boisterous coach with a troubled past, defending his team to a review board by sarcastically remarking, "I didn't realize that 4 black guys in a bobsled could make you blush." The warmth and credibility he brings to every role elevates all those around him, and tragic proof that we lost a wonderful actor far too early. The PG-rated film offers nothing new, and rarely anything truly exciting, but it's harmless entertainment everyone will be rooting for. So much so, in fact, the picture's legacy has greatly helped visibility for the sport, including a recent funding campaign for Jamaica's 2014 bobsledding contingent.
Now listen up, fellas. I don't want you to worry about looking good out there.
Blitzy. You're going to tux him in, too?
Hey, seeming to you like nobody likes us.
We're different. People are always afraid of what's different.
Hey, Jamaica! Watch out for number 12 turn. Scary, huh?
What's his problem?
He's Joseph Gruel. He's one of the best drivers in the world.
Yeah, he's one of the biggest assholes in the world, too.
Well, don't listen to him. You listen to me.
In true Disney fashion, the climax of the narrative sees the crowds of Calgary partaking in the traditional slow clap of approval for our protagonists. Unlike the sledders' colorful personalities and sled design, the presentation of this film lacks any style or originality. The editing, pacing, and cinematography are all very basic and average. Hans Zimmer's Calypso-themed score provides an appropriate backdrop to the proceedings, as does Jimmy Cliff's reggae cover of I Can See Clearly Now, which closes out the picture. A fun and cute movie all families can enjoy at least as often as the games themselves, Cool Runnings is a formulaic, charming, and uplifting story. Here are some of your reviews now from the YouTube comments. Our scores for Cool Runnings, a double 7. You enjoyed the fun characters and occasional laughs, rating this a cool. An enjoyable hour and a half and a picture that is surprisingly still very relevant today. I too thought it was, appropriately, a cool movie. A reminder now to subscribe to the Movie Night Archive channel for an organized library of all our past reviews and my exclusive trailer commentaries. Last week I featured Seth MacFarlane's upcoming A Million Ways to Die in the West. Our last winter sports movie tonight is Blades of Glory. This well-spec and Josh Gordon sports comedy film almost tripled its $53 million budget following its March 30th release in 2007. Will Ferrell and John Heder star as talented figure skaters who resort to the unorthodox solution of pairing with each other in order to compete on the national level again following a lifetime ban from the sport. The curious pairing of Ferrell and Heder as disgraced skaters works surprisingly well. The former's trademark abrasive improvised humor works well against the latter's more subtle annoyed straight man style. The supporting cast includes a bevy of familiar faces, including the then-married couple of Will Arnett and Amy Poehler as scheming and ruthless skating competitors, the gorgeously cute Jenna Fischer as the nervous potential girlfriend, William Fichtner in a quick role as an uncaring millionaire father, Nick Swartzen as a creepy stalker, and Craig T. Nelson as, who else, the coach. Real-life former skater and renowned color commentator Scott Hamilton appears as himself alongside Jim Lampley, both of whom add a great deal of credibility to the absurd events, and deliver some great jokes themselves, providing exposition early by describing Ferrell as the only skater to win 4 national championships and an adult film award. The 93-minute movie is quickly paced, and its parallel narratives keep each other from getting too boring. There's even a few visual effects shots, namely when our unathletic protagonists perform computer-assisted triple axels. The PG-13 rated movie makes some inventive use of pop music throughout, like when Heather questions the meaning of the Black Eyed Peas song My Humps, but the original score from Theodore Shapiro is largely inconsequential. When I saw this film in theaters the week of its release, I recall laughing quite frequently and really enjoying the humor and style of this picture, but sadly it has not aged well. Only 7 years later, the jokes feel stale, forced, and far more immature than necessary, playing out like an unfunny SNL sketch that doesn't know when to end. There are moments, gags, and gimmicks that definitely work well, however, like when Arnett is chasing Ferrell through the streets and stores of Montreal while still clumsily wearing their skates. For fans of Ferrell's zany and aggressive delivery or figure skating, this is an average comedy worth watching at least once. Blades of Glory is witty and amusing, but familiar. Here are some of your reviews now from the YouTube comments. Audience vote is a 7, and I rated Blades of Glory a 6. While many were quick to point out its faults, you also praised the humor, calling this a cool movie. Far less enjoyable than I initially remember, this is a crude but decent comedy. I thought it was good. Now for a look at films currently playing in theaters, here are some of your tweet critiques. If you see a new movie in theaters, tweet your review with the JPMN hashtag. Next week we'll be reviewing 3 brand new features. The Monuments Men, featuring an all-star cast led by George Clooney, the Lego Movie, which is already getting rave reviews, and the RoboCop reboot, which is released nationwide this week. Once you've seen these films, share your opinions by voting in the polls below or by leaving a comment review. If you'd like to watch more Movie Night reviews, check out the related videos on the right or click subscribe to be notified of all new content. And be sure to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, or Google+ for updates between episodes. Once again, my name is Jonathan Paula. Thank you for watching and listening. Until next time, have a good movie night.